If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's like, just calm down, folks. Just calm down. And once again, it is the Best Boys Center Ice podcast with myself, Barry, and my son, Carson, on the screen there. And it's the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff wrap-up show for Tuesday, the 27th. Western Conference Finals Game 4 is what we're going to take a look at tonight, with the Oilers going into the game up 2-1 on Dallas. But first, before we get to all that, we want to, of course, thank Carson for all the great stuff. He's the guy who put together the intro. He's the guy that puts together all the graphics that you see, uses the great stuff from TSN as far as the breakdown and the chart, the shot chart and everything. Also want to thank the Refocused Radio Network, because the Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube page, which is now completely up to date because I got it up to date earlier today, is available there, but also on the Refocused Radio Network, which features Sweep the League by Rudy Campos Jr. Rudy is just as busy as we are because he's going with the NBA, and a lot of course, the conference finals in the NBA are going on right now as well. He does all the Major League Baseball. He does NCAA. He does the NFL when it comes around. And we take care of the hockey. And also on there is Shemaya Reed and the Refocus Radio Network. But let's get into it, Carson. Last night was an abbreviated show because of the lightning storm and thunderstorms that we had in the San Antonio area. So this one we can take a little bit longer. And I don't mind this one being longer.
I do.
We know why. Is because the Edmonton Oilers win 4-1 in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup playoffs and are one win away from advancing to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, that being said, the other side of the ice in the green and white is a team that is going to be very hard to get that fourth win. They are starting to play a little bit. They were starting to play a little bit more like Dallas tonight. That first period was completely Dallas. It was a ridiculous shot attempt total, 20-something to 6 for the Oilers. And the first period shots on goal were 16-10 in favor of Dallas. But the Oilers scored the only goal of the period, a power play goal by Leon Draisaitl. That's his 7th of the playoffs. And that made it 1-0 about a little bit more than midway, a little bit less than midway through the first. So we get into that first period was totally dominated by Dallas. We get into the second period, and Dallas tied it on a great shot from Jason Robertson on the power play at 6:57. But then the Oilers kind of took over defensively. But not only that, Dallas just seemed to be back on their heels the entire second and third period, because in the second period, they only had 9 shots on goal. In the third period, which is they were still in it at this point, they only had 4 shots on goal. So the Oilers came out in the second period after Jason Robertson tied it on the power play. Another power play goal, this one from Corey Perry. And then we went into the third period with the Oilers up 2-1. So still Dallas definitely into it, but they just could not get anything. The defense I thought, that the Edmonton defense looked just as best that they've looked all playoffs especially in that third period, by just clearing things out, not giving Dallas any kind of a lane to shoot. And they only had the 4 shots on net. Oilers get a couple of late empty net goals from Kasperi Kapanen and Uncle Rico, Adam Henrique, and the Oilers win 4-1. So I want to hear what you have to say. You've got this shot chart up, but I know you were at bowling. You probably didn't see a lot of the entire game, but Dallas, if you looked at that first period alone, you would have thought they would be the ones in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted this to be a closer series. I wanted more Stu Skinner crash out videos.
Yeah.
But they haven't looked themselves for the most part. They have, they have picked it up in Edmonton, played their 2 best games probably in Edmonton, but it's not enough right now. The Oilers are dominating them, unfortunately, right now. It's just not close right now. I mean, Dallas is just back on their heels. Their big guys, for the most part, have been ice cold, and that's a problem at this time of the year. Is you need your star players to be your star players, and right now they're not getting that for the most part. Robertson has heated up, so that's somebody definitely to watch for the rest of the series because he's got goals in back-to-back games. But their star guys just are not playing like they were at the beginning of the playoffs. I know why the crazy stat Wyatt Johnston before this game was like a -15 in the playoffs, which is not very good. Yeah, the Oilers just special teams are winning that battle right now. They're getting power play goals all the time. They're killing a lot of penalties. 5-on-5, it's been pretty even the last couple of games, but the Stars aren't scoring, and that's not good at this time of the year. Again, I mean, I'm going to stand by my pick until it's done. I had Dallas winning the series. So I'd like to be talking maybe in a different sense that this is probably tied, but they have not been the better team, and Edmonton again is 1 win away from advancing. But should they have to play Florida again, that's going to be a very tough matchup, honestly. I mean, that's going to be, two different storylines. I mean, that would be absolutely crushing for the Oilers if they get to the final only to lose to the Panthers again.
Yeah.
That's just, back to the drawing board, and, I don't know what their team's going to look like for Edmonton next year should that occur. And the other way, Dallas, I mean, getting knocked out in the conference finals for the 3rd straight season is not what they want to do, and you're going to get an ambush in Game 5. That's not a question. I don't think it's going to be an ambush. Dallas has controlled the last couple games of shot board at points in the game, and they're going to be all over it in Game 5. I would not be at all surprised should Dallas wins that game and sends it back to Edmonton for another game. They have too much pride to be going out in 5 like that, but the Oilers at the same time want to get it done. It's just I can't see Dallas getting knocked out so quickly. I really can't see it. They've got to figure out how to get the puck behind Stu because they've struggled with it, and that's their killer right now is they can't score goals. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could remember the shot attempts total in the first period. You could have 22, 23, 24 shot attempts in the first period, but you got no goals to show for it. Again, Dallas didn't score a goal in the first period. I don't know how many games in a row that they have failed to score in the first period. And even though they totally outplayed it, dominated Edmonton in that first period. But then how do you go from having that many shot attempts to having in between the second and third period, you have 9 and 4 shots? Like they just looked, I don't know. I don't want to say tired. I just looked like they exerted themselves so much in the first period, maybe a little frustration. But the Oilers, their defense since the LA series, I think probably midway through the LA series, the Oilers defense has been just getting better and better and better as the series have gone along. And Stu is playing
I
great
don't know
right
I don't know what's up with him. Like I really don't. It's just so weird. Like
now. Well, they
he can't go the whole playoffs playing
yeah.
outstanding, but then once he catches fire, it's just very bizarre. I haven't seen something like this before.
Well, you look. I was looking at this earlier while you coming home from bowling. Okay, in the first game, game one in Dallas, Dallas scored 6 goals. In the last 3 games, they've scored 2. That's not going to win you hockey games. They are being outscored by the Oilers. Now they're not being outplayed
No, they're not.
100% by the Oilers, but the Oilers are doing something because they're getting pucks by Otter. They're playing defense to help Stu get to those. Stu looks comfortable. Jason Robinson goal was just a fantastic play on the power play by Robinson, and so it's like it's an anomaly with Stu. They mentioned it every game. The ESPN crew mentioned how it's just so weird. He's got before last night or before tonight, he was 4-4, I think. In the 4 losses, he gave up 20 goals. In the 4 wins, he's given up like 2 or 1 or
He,
whatever.
and people, get upset about the criticism with Stu, but this is the reason for it is because he's so hot and cold. Like it's just unlike anything we've seen in the playoffs, I think, before.
Yeah,
Where a goalie can be either so good or so bad, and there's no in between.
yeah.
Like we haven't seen a game where in the middle Stu's probably let in like 2 or 3. It's either he's shutting them out pretty much, or he's letting in a bunch
Mhm.
of goals. And
And
so if you're Dallas, you know that you can do that. You've got to put the puck behind him because once you get behind him and in his head a little bit, then it's a bit of a game over thing.
yeah,
Then the Oilers play, and you're right. When he's off his game, the Oilers play completely different than when he is on his game. When they're off his game, they're kind of sheepish. They're on their heels. They're kind of gripping their sticks a bit more because they know they have to put the puck in the net. And all the credit to Stu, don't get me wrong, but it's just so perplexing as an outsider fan, even for you as an Oiler fan. But it's very weird.
yeah,
I don't recall seeing something like this where it's just you don't know what you're gonna get honestly
yeah,
when you go into the game.
yeah. And speaking of the defensive pairing has gotten more airtime on ESPN is Klingberg and Wallman, and these are 2 new guys to the Oilers. They fit in so well. They are playing as a defensive pair. I think they're playing the best of the 6 that the Oilers have out there, no matter what the 6 are.
Yeah.
These guys are veterans. They know what they're doing. Matthias, now every time that the Oilers win, it's that much closer to Matthias Ekholm coming back and being in the lineup. Calvin Pickard was
Backing up.
on backing up. So here you have, a guy who went 6-0 in the first part of the playoffs before he got hurt, and he's the backup.
I think
But
you just keep rolling with Stu until he
you
runs
you
cold.
have to. You can't pull him now because you're thinking, well, he's only given up 2 goals in 3 games. So you go with Stu until he starts going south.
Yeah.
And then you've got Calvin Pickard back, and we know what Pick did in the LA series and the first part of the Vegas series. So we know what he did. So that's kind of like a nice cushion for the
Yes.
Oilers because they have Pickard back. And if they can keep winning, they're going to get closer to getting their top defenseman, Matthias Ekholm, back. So again, I didn't expect this either, Carson. Like I'm always going to say every time we pick our picks for the night, I'm going to say Edmonton because I can't not say Edmonton. It's just like you say, not saying Pittsburgh. It's just like I have to say Edmonton, but I am very, very surprised that we're at 3-1 for the Oilers right now.
Let me ask you something here. I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate, okay?
Okay.
Because I know we talk about hypothetical cup final because both teams are one win away from making it. Should it be Edmonton and Florida? And again, I'm not doing this just to rally up. I'm just curious from your point of view because you follow the team. If you're the Oilers and they get to the final and they lose to Florida again, what do you do as a team? What do you think kind of happens?
Well, as a team, I still think even win or lose, but if you're talking about, okay, I hate talking about the fact that the Oilers are that close to the Stanley Cup final because they still have to get there. But if the scenario is Edmonton, Florida, and Florida wins again, and if it's not as close as it was, last year, seventh game, 2-1 final score in the seventh, goaltending. I'm going to say this until I can't speak anymore. The Oilers need that elite goaltender, and to get to the point where they need a Bob, where you can look back there and go, oh, well, that's Bob. We got it. That's to me the biggest thing, because Oilers, I think they said now they've got 18 players, 18 different Edmonton Oilers have scored in the playoffs, which is more than anybody as far as their lineup is concerned. That's almost the entire lineup. I don't really know if you go and chase that another top scorer to go on.
I don't think so.
Because they've got the guys I think that they need, and they finally got the depth that they haven't had since, since the 80s, when they were the dominant team. So I just think if I was a general manager, and I would just say, I'm sorry, Stu, I know you, but we have to get that elite goaltender somehow or another. If somebody is available in the offseason, either via trade or via free agency. I'm not sure who's on the free agency market as far as goaltenders are concerned. But to me, that would be the thing I would do. Actually, that's the thing I would do, win or lose, Carl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to think. I'm kind of looking at the same time to see what y'all's guys are going to look like. So what it would look like should the Oilers not win. Obviously, I'd be happy for you if they do win, but I could see this being a completely different team if they don't, honestly. Because at some point, Corey Perry, how much longer is he going to be able to go before he's done? You have your free agents that are coming up after this season. Bush is an RFA this offseason. Jeff Skinner's a UFA. He'll probably go. There's no reason to keep him. Trent Frederick's a UFA. Corey Perry's a UFA. Klingberg's a UFA. Kapanen's a UFA. Connor Brown's a UFA. And also other guys that maybe you'll get traded or whatever, what have you. I just like to think of the hypotheticals because you never know, obviously. And this, again, in the next few days could be completely different, where Dallas still is a good enough team where they can come back and win this thing. But, it's just, it's just, God, it would be it would be just crazy should that happen the same as it did last year. But this would be the first time that two teams have made it to consecutive Cup finals since 08-09 when Detroit and Pittsburgh did it. That's the first time that'll be pretty unique. But I just kind of wanted to pick your brain because, I feel like at some point if they end up losing again, there just has to be something that just tweaked. I don't think a big where you overhaul, but definitely a tweak that gets you over that hump to get there. And I do agree. I think it's that number one goalie. I mean, look at the Cup champions of the past. Vegas had Aiden Hill. The only one that was kind of more questionable or, off the record, kind of a bit wacky was Darcy Kemper with Colorado. That wasn't, but Tampa and their crazy run, Besse. I mean, come on, Vasilevsky at the time was the best goalie in the world. When Chicago was winning all their cups, Corey Crawford was the guy. LA had Jonathan Quick. Pittsburgh had Fleury and Matt Murray that helped them there. So all these teams that win those cups have that like top tier goaltender. And I mean, should the Oilers win this year with Stu or Pick, neither of them are top tier goaltenders. And that'd be very unique if they did that. But I agree. I think that's something maybe as an organization they can try to go after next year. Win or loss, to be honest, because you really do need that statement, staple goalie that'll be there consistently, probably putting up, a GAA of 2.5 or less a game is really probably what's needed.
Yeah. So, it's always interesting to see what happens after a team wins the Stanley Cup. Do you make changes? Like wholesale changes?
Look at Florida. They made a lot of changes.
Yeah, they made
year.
a lot of changes after
Look
they
at how
won
much
the Stanley Cup.
after they won the cup. Lots of guys left, and they brought in other guys that fit the mold. And to me, they look like a better team, which is crazy to think about that. They
Yeah.
do. I mean, if right up there with Edmonton, I think Florida's right there with how many guys have scored.
Mhm.
Florida's guys, everybody's contributing on the score sheet, and Bob, when he's on his game, it's hard to beat him.
Yeah.
And it's proven like this series, really even last game, I know they lost, but he only let in one goal.
Yeah.
The other two were empty netters. Like it's a very, I'll be very happy with that Stanley Cup final if it's a rematch, because both teams are really good, and it's going to be, Florida and Edmonton both have the offensive firepower to light it up.
Yeah.
Now, concerning maybe for you guys is Hyman. What's his status going to be? Because that did not look very good. His arm just looked limp, like he couldn't move it, couldn't grip. Yeah.
I heard Ray Ferraro kind of mention throughout the broadcast afterwards that it looked like it might be a jammed thumb. Because the hit was not.
It was just awkward.
It was just an awkward looking hit, but it wasn't. It was clean. But that's what I heard. Who knows? Okay, so if Hyman is out, there's your guy who's.
Then Jeff Skinner's probably cracking the lineup.
Yeah, Jeff Skinner's probably going to get in.
Isn't that funny with Jeff Skinner? He waited all those years to play in the playoffs, and he played one game, and now he hasn't touched the ice since.
We don't know Connor Brown's status for Game 5 in Dallas. So you're going to think Arvison's going to stay out there.
Yeah. Well, that's when you need, RV and Kapanen and goes to do what they're doing.
Yep.
And
all these
it's just that next man up mentality. I mean, that's what happens to pretty much any team that wins the Stanley Cup. They have to fight adversity and have that next man up mentality. Like, no excuses. Let's just go out there and play.
So, but first things first for the Oilers.
Got to win the fourth game.
Yeah, because it's like I said earlier,
it's going to be hard.
It's easy to say, hey, the Oilers are one win away from the Stanley Cup, but they're playing the Dallas Stars. And this is a team who maybe haven't looked like the Dallas Stars in this series, but we know what the Dallas Stars can do.
Yeah.
And we know what this particular group of Dallas Stars can do. So the Oilers have to go into Dallas on Thursday night, and they have to play like they're behind. It's almost like you have to play like you need that game more than Dallas. Like you're behind. You're trying to catch up to Dallas. And that's the mindset, because they're going into Dallas where they won before earlier in the series. And they don't – I think that's what I would do. I would be like playing, God, forget that we're up 3-1. Well, we're down 3-1. We got to stay in this series. That's how you play.
I have a feeling they're going to be on their heels a little bit, I think, to start. And if they can weather the storm, weather the storm and come out unharmed, I think you're in a good spot.
They weathered the first period tonight. So if they could weather that storm and, just keep building on the power play, which is now starting to score a little bit, if they can just keep building on the penalty kill, which is it was horrific in the first part of the playoffs. It's getting better. It's not quite there, but it's getting better. You got to stay out of the penalty box. If you're Dallas too now, you got to stay out of the penalty box. We're just going to see if they can, like you said, weather the first period and go from there. No matter what, I think this has been one of the best series, not just because I'm an Oilers fan and they're up 3-1, but I think this has been a more entertaining series. Tonight's game was probably the best game in playoffs that I've seen since I'm trying to think about back to some of the games in the earlier part of the playoffs. So these are two teams that know each other very well. These are two powerhouse teams in the West. These are two teams that
I think the only game that's really comparable for me is probably Dallas, Colorado game 7.
Yeah.
Because that was
because they were down 2-0 or 2.
up to this point, that was the moment of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Rantanen burning his old team the way he did,
Yeah.
kind of like, eat that, like, let's go.
So again, Edmonton tonight wins 4-1. Take a 3-1 series lead into American Airlines Center, just up the road here from San Antonio, about 4.5 hours. And beautiful, like we've been in that building in the playoffs, so we know how loud that building is going to get, and how much, they we talk about, especially the Canadian teams that have been in the playoffs, but I'm talking more specifically the Edmonton Oilers fans. The fan base is just absolutely crazy, inside, outside the arena. Dallas is probably, in my opinion, of the American teams that made the playoffs, the fans are the loudest and they are the most passionate of the American teams that made the playoffs. We love the fans in Dallas. I was always kind of against Dallas because in the 90s, 2000s, or whatever, it was always Dallas and Edmonton, and Dallas would always beat Edmonton. So there was a rivalry going. But man, just the atmosphere in there is something. I don't know if it's rivaled by any American city, and it's just great to see two great cities, a lot of history in between the two cities, between the two clubs, and I don't think the series is over. I'm still going to say the Oilers are going to win Game 5, but I don't know if the series is going to be over. You're right. Dallas they're just off on the bad foot or something. I don't know what it was, but we'll see. It's going to be we know it's going to be an entertaining game on Thursday night. That's for sure. So let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, which we thought were going to be done. We both said, I can't see Carolina winning a game. Well, Carolina did come out, and they won on Monday night to stave off elimination. And but the Panthers still have a 3-1 lead now. Okay, you can look at it and say, "Oh, it's back in Raleigh." Carolina should have.
But Florida's beaten them there both times.
Both times they have not won a home game in this series yet. So I'm still going with the fact that Florida is just too good. Carolina did what they had to do in Game 4, and they survived. But I don't think they're not going to do this 3 more times.
So it's going to be hard.
3 more times.
And they still, they beat Bob one time. Last game. Once. And sure, that was all they needed, but Florida's been the better team.
Yeah.
They have been the better team, and that's the difference. And Carolina hasn't won a game at home yet in this series. The Panthers have won both of them on the road. They have the confidence. They know they can win there, start out strong. I don't think you're upset with how Florida played last game. They played a pretty good game, but they just didn't win it. You come back in Game 5, I think take the game, and you're going to pray that Dallas can beat Edmonton in Game 5 to get a break. But I think we're both on the same page. Carolina prolonged the inevitable. Like I said last night, they won, but I don't see them winning 4 in a row. There's no way. There's no way. I just don't see it happening at all. Florida's just too good of a team to lose like that 4 times in a row. I think this is done tomorrow night. But if Carolina happens to win again, good for them. They're trying to get it back in it, but it's going to be a dogfight for them, and they're going to have to score. If they don't score, if they can't find the back of the net at home, they're done. They've only scored twice in the home this series. Even as a whole, they haven't really scored that much. It's just going to be, can they adapt to Florida's game? Can they play a more offensive attack, or are they going to try to out-defense the Panthers again, which has proved to be very ineffective for them?
No, I'm picking Florida to win this. Game may be close. It may be like a 4-2, 5-3. With 6-on-5 at the end and an empty net. It'll be a closer game. It's in Raleigh. Fans are going to be behind the Hurricanes. They don't want Carolina to be done just yet. But seriously, come on, folks. Let's really take a serious look at the two teams. there's no way that what happened to Florida last year in the Stanley Cup Finals against Edmonton is going to happen against Colorado, because that's two totally different teams.
Carolina.
You
said Colorado.
Oh, did I say Colorado? It's the C, Carolina. Carolina's not Edmonton. And the only team right now that can beat the Florida Panthers are the Florida Panthers. If they don't play up to their level, if they sit back.
The only team that can beat them is themselves.
Yeah.
I think. They play their game, they're fine. They're going to be fine.
So
I
think they will. I think this is going to be done in Raleigh tomorrow night.
And I've seen, people saying that they need to switch, which I agree. I think they need to switch the format of the playoffs to 1 through 8, because this would have been a first-round series.
Yep.
And, not to discredit the Carolina Hurricanes, they're a good team, but they play in a weak Metropolitan Division that doesn't really give much of a challenge, and then they get to the playoffs and they have to play the Atlantic teams, and it's hard. They're a hard team. I think, honestly, the Atlantic's probably the best division. Just because look at the top-loaded talent of Toronto, Tampa, Florida. That's a hard division. Those 3 teams are pretty much a shoo-in every year to make the playoffs, so it's just battling who's going to be the team to make the wild card. And, the Metro, not to discredit the Metropolitan Division, because my team plays in it, but Carolina we know is a good team. But other than that, starting the season, it was kind of a toss-up between, is Washington, the Rangers, the Devil? Like, who's going to take it? Like, we didn't know. We just knew Carolina was going to be in it. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I just don't think they're going to be in this for very much longer. And I really think it's going to be Florida heading to the 3rd Stanley Cup final in a row after tomorrow night's game, which is a 7 o'clock start Central Time.
Yep.
We'll be on
right, 10
o'clock, depending on overtime and whatnot, but we'll be on about
quadruple overtime tomorrow.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
How about an overtime that ends 20 seconds in?
Oh, I'll take it. I'll take an overtime when my team's not playing.
You have Bob clears the puck down the ice, and Freddie Anderson goes down to shoot it or pass it up, and it jumps over his stick and it's in. Goal.
Oh, yeah. There was I was thinking about just the Oilers were Dallas had a delayed penalty, and they had the puck on that 6.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
And then somebody from Dallas shot off the back boards or something, and the way it ricocheted off of the boards, I thought, what if that thing goes in the net? It missed. But I'm thinking, whoa, that would just be absolutely
madness,
horrific.
Go ahead, sorry. Go.
And then there was the other play that Otter made, and that he went out to get the puck, but he went past this trapezoid and he couldn't play it.
Yeah, he almost got a delayed game.
And here comes Connor McDavid coming down on him, and McDavid's great with his stick trying to get the puck, and it's like
I'll give Otter that he did a good job handling that.
Yeah, he didn't panic. He just went around, put it around, and it's like, okay. But yeah, there's a couple of plays that I want to like. That
one thing I want to say before we go. I don't know if I have as many heart attacks watching the game in total or watching Stu try to handle the puck.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it, and it's like he holds it, and it's like taking it for I'll see him get the puck behind the trapezoid, and he's just sitting there with it, and then you've got guys on both sides from Dallas up against him. It's like, oh my god! Like I'm scared it's gonna burn him. I really am. Like that it's gonna burn him at some point.
Do a good job of clearing the puck a couple of times, but yeah, he gets the puck and he sits there and he doesn't know which way he's going. Does he go to?
I am scared that it's gonna burn him once, like where he just turns it over and it's a layup, a wraparound. But that's just something I wanted to say because I've been seeing that. I'm like, I was watching it tonight on my phone. And I see him get the puck. I'm like, clear it out.
Clear it. Don't play with it.
Just go. Like, geez. I know you're over there. You're like this. Like,
what? You just clear the puck, dude. Stay in your net. If anything, stay in your net. But so tomorrow night, it's Florida and
Will we see the first team to the Stanley Cup final tomorrow? I think we will, but we'll see.
We will, Carr. I got a feeling we will. and we'll be on to wrap things up either way tomorrow night.
Yep.
And then the Oilers game 5 in Dallas is Thursday. So again, thanks to Carson for doing all the great work with the graphics and the intro. Shemai Reed and the Refocused Radio Network for putting the Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube channel up, which I mentioned earlier is completely up to date, and you can get us there. Spreaker's not updated yet because I didn't have enough time today to do it, but it's a work in progress, and
Yep.
really you want to see the Best Boys. You know, you don't want to not see the best, especially the guy on the bottom of the screen here. You want to see him more than you want to see the old man up here. But anyways, thanks again, Carr.
Yep.
And in the meantime, and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.